Okay. Let me just make sure that I am live everywhere where I need to be live before we start going in. Let me just make sure that we're good. I think we are okay. Welcome everybody to the Overthinking Football Show. My name is George Mokwena. I'm your host, and this is a place where we can meet as fans and speak about football. We're not going to speak, man, it's not presenters, but Thomas, the former coaches, analysts, and all those people. It's me and you guys speaking about what we see in our local game, in the African game, and every now and then we go overseas to look at what's happening in Europe every now and then. Guys, today is the members show, just by the way. The show is going to be focused mainly on the members. The members pick the topic, they come in, and you're listening to audio that's coming from the WhatsApp group. And in the WhatsApp group, that's where you'll find everybody there. And if you want to join the WhatsApp group, you head on over to YouTube, click on subscribe, click on join. There's a join button, and you'll be able to gain access to the group and have conversations with us. I'm giving you a glimpse of the types of conversations we have in that group and how incredible it is. We banter, we send videos, photos, voice notes, back and forth. We learn, there's a lot that happens in that place. It's a very, very incredible place where even at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can get an answer from someone. The normal show is on every Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. And then we have watch-alongs when Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns, Bafana, Banyana style, UWC, we're going to be watching them in the Champions League. When they are playing their games, you also watch them too, and you can jump in. Unfortunately today, because members show, we won't be jumping in. You're going to be listening to the members speaking, but I will be live tomorrow for Bafana versus Congo. Let me welcome the members that showed up. Guys, welcome. How are you guys?
Grand,
So, guys, Agent, I'm going to jump straight into it, man. I want to ask firstly a broad question. Do we care about international football, and why should we care about international football?
To be honest, I don't care about it. I only care when Bafana is playing, and yeah. Otherwise, or maybe there's a big tournament, and even in those big tournaments, I only get to watch maybe interesting games.
Yeah.
And of group stages, and even knockout, I don't even watch all knockout matches. I would watch the ones that I'm interested in. So generally, I don't care, to be honest. So yeah.
Kumbo, do we care about international football? Should we care about international football?
Of course we care about international football. I care about international football. Obviously, if being South African, obviously I'm going to care more for Bafana. But yeah, I support Portugal because of Ronaldo. I support any other African country besides Ghana, Nigeria, those countries. You know what I mean? So yeah, some tournaments I wouldn't care for, like your Copa America, and sometimes even the European League, even the UEFA nations, whatever, like their equivalent, of course, Europe.
Yeah.
It can be boring, unless even the World Cup. Sometimes you like who wants to watch a Croatia taking on an Uruguay, for instance. Sometimes can be boring. What I mean. So yeah, there are some stages where, especially when it's knockout, that you wanna watch, or whenever Ronaldo's playing, that's where you watch. Yeah, that's all I care about as well.
Do you know what's funny, now? Do you know what's funny? I at some point did care about a lot of football. We used to watch the Champions League all the time, English Prem, PSL. It has everything on top of everything. And is it maybe, Agent, that we have too much football? Is it an issue maybe that there's too much football, and sometimes, man, you just get fatigued of it?
Yeah, I remember years back, I don't mind watching a game from half 12, from half 12, I know it's going to finish around 2, I go to PSL. After PSL, I know probably I'm going to watch another EPL game at 5, and from 5, 8, I'm going to watch, maybe another PSL game or even a La Liga game, so I wouldn't mind that. I don't know. I think it's too much football, maybe, or maybe it's just age. I don't know what it is, but but I think in terms of football wise, there's just too much football, and you use this few international breaks to recuperate. Because it gets what is the word, tiring to be watching all this football. So yeah, I think
But
it's
are they recuperating? I mean, we watched the Euros. We're all here watching the Euros, and we saw what felt like very tired players that come from long seasons having to jump straight into the Euros, and maybe they didn't give us the same kind of football we were expecting. And then you have to go back to your club, and now you're playing club football. Does that lessen maybe the quality of the international football itself, but also the club football?
I think because there's that not, unless if you're Theo and you want to over 2.5s, or you are a fanboy like Kumo where you want Ronaldo to succeed by all cost. Some of us were not invested emotionally into these games, and football you need emotions, Last week it was Paris versus Stellis, somehow you had to align with yourself, just couldn't say I'm neutral, somewhere deep you wanted to Paris to win or Stellis to win, and that's where the excitement is, you need to have that squeaky bum time when watching the game. So I think with internationals, the fact that you don't care much about what happens or not, they like that flavor, and because emotionally we get drained by our clubs, the excitement, the drama, everything. You don't have that energy anymore for international breaks. As I said, we do recuperate in this kind of things. Yeah.
Kumo, as somebody who loves football and watches the internationals and does all of that, do you ever find yourself a little bit tired or maybe overwhelmed? Or polo every week, internationals, now I have to follow the countries, then I have to go back. Does it ever overwhelm you, or do you feel tired? And do you think that maybe that is what's contributing to us not caring much about international football?
On the contrary, if it was up to me, I'll be like a greedy club owner and make sure my players play every day. But the problem with today's football, it's so boring. Especially the Pep way, everyone plays the same system, they play way. There's nothing unique anymore. Like when you try and do some flair or some flag, it's called showboating, it's frowned upon on. Hence why hence why the AFCON was so exciting. It was more exciting than the World Cup, including the Euros, because we had different teams from different eras, from different places. So none of us like were playing the same way. Like we showed them idiski football, Cabo Tembazwane. We saw the flair go Angola on and off the field. We had the Cote d'Ivoire underdog story. They had a story for us to tell. We saw the mighty Nigeria falling off. I'm talking about those traditional powerhouses, Bago, North Africa, the other, like the highest ranked team, Rebetil. There was so much excitement, you know what I mean? Even when the teams were not playing, I used to go on TikTok to go on the AFCON page to see how Bafana sang, to see how the Angola players were arriving and dancing. There was always something about football. So if something is like, I'm a football passionate, I love football. So if I get something that I like, I know I'm very emotionally attached to, and I call every day, call me an addict. It's fine. I'll take that crown. Marabanong kito na kalante I am a mohar bam pasa bolo agora. Ke mone ko Manchester City, ke mona ko Norway hape. Ashifa Nunes is trying to be like him. Harry Kane in the Kora Kadi penalty, but he had tricky. Smara so that's not entertainment for me. So there's nothing underwhelming. What I can say, the players may tell you a different story. Ashifa Abu Kim Son Yoon wanna strike because they feel like they're overly exploited, even though they get a lot of money. They're talking about injuries. Now we lost Rodri because of Kidi. How we never used to have so many international breaks in between. So now we've got so many international breaks to play for our countries. Now we've got to play FIFA Club World Cup. I know you can't relate, but yeah. Come on, you have to play so many tournaments happen. You have to travel. As much as we love people play football, it's physically exhausting for them. And never more living back 3 weeks, but the other weeks of the year, wadala, and you're doing physical work. So yeah, for the players, but as a greedy fan, I wanna watch them play every day.
Lulu, welcome to the show. How are you? I don't know if you want to jump in. Just let me know. Hey, I think. Okay, we'll come back.
Wait, on Kumo's point, of too much games, too much everything. I get it. I totally get it. Money is not everything, but if you're being paid 300K per week, the salary of a doctor in a year, someone who has morning shifts, afternoon shift, on a call. I think not prima donnas, excuse being insensitive, because I feel like in the morning, sure, you train 2 hours, I think, maybe 11 to 12 or 10 to 12, and then you're going to come back for an afternoon session, maybe 5 to 6, and we know nowadays you have cool down sessions. It's not running 12 rounds around the field, there's, and then after that, there's ice baths and, massages and masseuses and whatever. Do they have the right to you complaining though, or is just, I don't know.
Oh, maybe that's an interesting question. Let's ask that question. So many games, international breaks, club World Cups, all of that stuff. Kumo, do the players have a leg to stand on when they say they've got too many games and they play too many games? Because I think maybe where I understand them is maybe you need a balance. Maybe you need to go, I can only play so many games before I break down. And if I start breaking down and my body is not working properly, or I'm tired during the Euros or whatever, the product also suffers. How do you feel about that, Kumo? Do the players have an argument for saying, man, there's too much football right now?
Yeah, they definitely do, and I concur. But also, if you want these players to keep playing at their optimal burst week in, week out, I mean, like, it's crazy that you have to play every 3 days and travel into Africa, going to Cape Town, going to Limpopo. It's exhausting mentally and physically. It's not good for your health as well. So if you because I hear agents pointed like you are getting paid, but like he complains about too much work. I get, so it's the same thing as well. So my thing is like, Wawona right now, luckily we've got 5 substitute. Maybe if they allow up to 8, it can make a difference, right? And also, I'm just saying, just to help out ease the pain and help if they allow the teams to have a squad of 50 or 60, to mitigate through various tournaments that they also want. I know like it won't be financially viable for the teams because as an owner, you want to make as much profit as possible. Because if you have a squad of superstars, even 60 of those, it will be impossible to maintain. Only the top 5 teams who EPL can really afford to keep on such a high squad. But on the other coin, you can say, okay, if they have a squad of 60 superstars, that means those people who are earning 500,000 per week can start maybe 200,000. So it means more people are employed generally, and you've got more competition. Now you're absorbing more people into your first team. The academies don't really have to worry that much again where this kid's gonna play. So if you can do it like then, it might help. But then you're creating a new problem for yourselves as well. Again, you're gonna overwhelm everyone. Then it becomes too much football.
Can I ask, Kumo? Are we blowing this thing out of proportion? Because let's be honest, like you were saying, there's only a few teams that are going to have a heavy schedule, right? So for example, in South Africa, Mamelodi Sundowns is going to have a heavy schedule with the Club World Cup. You're going to see a lot of the teams. Right now, for example, Chiefs was off for 2 weeks. They had played 2 games and they were off 2 weeks before that. Are we in these arguments that are being made, are we not only catering for your Real Madrids and your Chelseas? I don't think Burnley cares much about the amount of games in a schedule.
I agree. Yeah, okay, yeah. Burnley doesn't care. But if we take it back to your PSL, now I'm gonna be myself and be controversial. Sundowns didn't have so much game time and off days when we were playing alone CAF. Just because the darling of South African football, Sunbarek and Pirate has some CAF commitments. Suddenly the space. It didn't make sense last week. Why couldn't we play our games, especially Sundowns, because we've got so many commitments to CAF. We could have played at least 2 games. One before that so-called final. Yeah, Tom. So, as a fan, my team era so equally favors. When you say this team is benefiting everywhere, on the pitch, in the boardrooms, go that way, people want to come and swear to you here. So
Yeah.
right now, help me understand why couldn't the PSL play during the week? Even though
That-
57 we would have played. I think
That's actually no, go on.
Weekend, so but we move on.
That's actually something I'm gonna get into. I'm gonna get into in the next round of questions because I want to bring Theo. Theo, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, how's this good? I'm good. How are you?
Theo, I'm throwing you into the deep end. Right now, we're speaking about the amount of games. Do you think that there is too many games and maybe that fatigue, man? Do you think that plays into maybe why we don't care about internationals? And does it hurt the product overall, whether it's national or club, if Badalama Keimanga?
First and foremost, let me greet you, Mr. OT. Our fellow panelists here, the guys in the comment section. First and foremost, OT, man. Agent, because I'm glad I'm gonna hear his voice. It's been a while, by the way. Kumo vele, kumo noma ngihamba uyisakaza phezulu kweSundowns anginandaba. But anyway, OT, it's a very interesting mindset that we should have about how our football is being run, OT. Unfortunately, since we are mostly affected by what happens in Europe, Europe have also they've done something very impressive. If you watch in 2 weeks and then 2 weeks for no reason for the cup will and then all of a sudden boom, now we are waiting for Amakemazodala, and at some point we need to be honest, even I would blame if also careful team. They are not doing enough to make sure our countries or the games, our qualifiers, all those things are well taken serious. Because for an example, besides the Euro for our Nations League is gonna play anytime soon. But for Labang Zimbabwe, I'm like, what? And when to Twitter OT, I checked things on Twitter and you realize at some point, pressure, they've done a lot of business beforehand, whereas Tina, if business is challenge along the way. But as for the players, I'm a fatigue, these guys are professionals. But also, I feel like it affects the mindset that we have about the game. Because if now have OT, we're gonna watch Bafana or play once in a month, maybe disappear for 3-4 months, it's a problem. Why are they not just dedicating a month or two? Just dedicate a whole month and then month or 2 weeks later, or 3 or 2 weeks, maybe 3-4 games. This is like the national team, you understand? Then the next coming other few games, this is really leaking. Because OT, let's be honest, we were so interested about the league. The league was interesting. The start of the league, the way league is calling a corner, I think everyone, even in EPL, everyone is like, wow. Even La Liga, they are all interesting. Leagues. All of a sudden now, when they come back, we're gonna be wondering, are they gonna come back and continue from where they left off? You watch that game with Tottenham against Brighton. That game was powerful. Kaizer Chiefs and the Sundowns, those things, they play a lot when now they come back and then the standard drops. And also, it affects the Lama player more than anything. Are they given enough time to adjust the Panala? Because if you give them a month to know with both the national team, they are focused on the national team. When they come back, and I love what Kumo said about the CAF. South Africa, I feel like Africa, and Motsepe, I'm sorry to say this, but Motsepe is not doing justice for us. When there was a Moroccan guy there, they made sure those guys they are well taken care of. Well, Ahly, they had, I remember Ahly move, I forgot for how many games. But when they came back, the league continued like nothing happened. But for us, we all know it's not something new. Sundowns is going to struggle. Why are they not doing anything to change that? They will be a little bit more flexible and be much more interesting so that we can invest in it more than anything.
So then, Theo, what I'm hearing here is that for you, there's a couple of structure problems with the way that internationals are done and the way that games are given out. But I want to ask you before I ask that question, is it fair for everybody else? Because it feels like these arguments, man, it's only for Ahly, it's only for Sundowns, it's only for City, Arsenal, it's only for Real Madrid, man. For the majority of the teams, none of them are going to be facing this many games or, worrying about their fatigue, what. Are we not blowing all of this out of proportion, man, for a handful of teams in comparison to all of the other teams in the world?
We need to be honest that most of it's Stellenbosch. I mean, as could mention this, Stellenbosch has fully league. They're just here. Like in Senate, I think that they were scared when they nearly won it. The Pirates have system justice, but they were scared. It's just I win. So for me personally, there are certain teams that are in CAF that they know they're just there. They're not gonna do anything much. But for Sundowns, Ahly, abo Zamalek na mani. If I need Chiefs at the moment, you look at there are many teams that you abo Raja, Esperance, they wanna win this competition, they wanna make this competition to be, they wanna bring it into the high level where it deserves to be also. So I think it does play a very big role, a very big part in the sense that and also we need to give our big teams the credentials that they deserve. Sundowns, and mina ngizonda ukuva Sundowns nama-supporters akhona nje ngawakhathela wonke futhi, but I promise you they need that schedule to be reset for them so that they can both defend the league and also play careful. Sizokhona ukuyibuka. Mina I promise you, once Sundowns gets knocked out of the CAF, I'm not going to watch it. Very Pirates corner because ngiyazi neba fake Pirates. But Sundowns yaphuma, I'm stopping watching it. Simple. So noma ngathiwa ingonje bo supersport abo van Stellenbosch bakumakota, I would never watch that because I know they won't win it. But Sundowns, they can stand to win it and they can defend it. That makes a difference for me.
Okay. Agent, let me go to you. Let's get into the crux of the matter of tonight. How does international football impact club football? And is there such thing as maybe it's a little bit unfair for club football to stop and then, 2-3 weeks off to go and play internationals? Then when we come back, man, sometimes it feels like the teams are cold. Should there be some sort of changes to make sure that it doesn't happen? How do you feel about that? If true, if you agree.
Thank you, Theo. So I was going to attack you, Abana. So now that we are nice to me, I can't attack you. So that's unfortunate. But thank you, my brother. Well, I hear you. I think Theo came up with a good suggestion that maybe what if there was just a month dedicated for internationals, I think that would help with the coach because the coach barely gets 2 days to even implement a style of play or what he wants, So if at least that I have this players for a month, I'm going to be playing 5, 6, 7, 8 games, that could help also on the tactical side of things, But then again, as a club, after your players have been gone for a month, have they not forgotten what you taught them and they've adopted to other tendencies, but with the way it is right now, excuse me, where things are right now is what is it called? Tells you win, tells you lose. In the sense that you look at a team like Maruma Gallants, need to have a break works for them, because the streak, things are not coming together. Or a team like Amazulu, able to make changes, and give the new coaches at least week or two to work on tactics and see what they can fix, So in terms of it breaks momentum for the good guys who are doing well, your Chiefs and stuff, and then it does good for breaks momentum of losing for losing sides, so it depends on where you are on the table. But that also again, when you are winning, you want to keep the momentum, but then again, when you are winning, you maybe need a breather to work on certain things because you can be easily carried away by the momentum, and then when you have lost, like Chiefs when they lost, you want to play the next game so that you can regain your confidence. So it's a tricky one, I can see both arguments of the sides,
So then, what do you say about teams protecting their assets? Because at the end of the day, Agent is my star player. He's been playing for me. He's been great. Oh, now I have to send him off to go be with Hugo Bruce, and he might get injured there. It might change my season. How much does that come into some of these things? We saw Pesitao being rested, quote unquote. How much does that come into maybe our perception of internationals and how we view it?
Yeah, no. If you look at the main fight between Rulani and Bruce, players went there, they came back injured, and that impacted our season. We could have went invisible, could have went on one CAF, so a lot of things could have happened, and even after the guys did well for you in AFCON, you don't even give them a breather the next shop to say, guys, I'm rewarding you for the good performance and I'm taking Sundowns to give me all these players. And because it disadvantages teams like Sundowns, where most of his players are there, a team like Paris now, where also most of his players are there. So there is that disadvantage, for such teams. And hence, maybe other teams start to say players are sick and everything, and also as a player, you don't always give 100%. I think maybe that's why the quality is low because you are thinking if I get injured here, a face, they won't take me off much. Mean City is gonna say you got injured on duty, so we can pay the rest of your contract. This termination, you have lost your livelihood. So I think it does play a role. Some even on the players mindset that don't always give 100% on internationals.
Kumo, timing. How does timing play into this? That this happens in the middle. Should we care that momentums are being broken, whether good or bad? So sometimes you were losing, now you get to win, or you get to take a break and take a breather. Others were winning, but now not only do they have to give players to the national team, but they also have to break that winning cycle of theirs. Do you think that the timing plays into this, and how does that affect the club teams?
Utsi, it's easy for you to say the internationals should dedicate the entire month for them to play them all out. Obviously, I agree, and he has no place in the national team. So why
Totally there.
mara when I'm calling because kwa him. Nang hatella mo ko hatella nagi. So all I'm saying is that it's simple. One also, I mean, like a month. We like obviously when you pick out the best players more often you're gonna go for the best players in PSL, which are fun go down. So better than no way go thing just because of we have to. One. So you're a Kawata. But on the other hand, understand where he's coming from. It would make more sense to actually play 4 games in 2 weeks to get over these qualifiers over and done with. Then you don't have to worry about them again. Then you're done. So, but then again, in a situation of club versus country again, ho lebella hore we pay this guy a lot, tons of money. We pay for his lodge, we pay for his car, we pay for almost everything, even his medicals. Then someone, because now when you go they're gonna use their country and pride and patriotism. Obviously, it has to go that way. Or holding in a 45,000 a. Is it worth it? So that is why Bulal for Stabaribona Bahaf. So Bakuna for that is it's a balancing act.
Cool.
And Awana we must start adopting the European calendar of football. It's not because of we are followers, but it makes more sense because FIFA works at the European calendar. Tell me why Egypt they still have a league Tomanga January like December. Like we've got 2023, 2024. Like make it normal. I wonder if we can have the same football calendar, then we can say as a preseason or instead of having more like MTN 80, which you don't care about, we can play internationals preseason on Kalohanya. Then we can go to our domestic cups. Then right or January, we played all the internationals, get our AFCON, I get. Then maybe King before September or July, we play anything FIFA, the World Cup qualifiers. Then while we play one game, and then you are done. So disruption is less impactful. But if we can align our calendars more carefully than everyone else, we wouldn't have such problems. We wouldn't have a season where Ahly has 10 plus game in hand, Sundowns let's say 80 and still the number one. So you can avoid such things, man.
So then, Kumo, can I ask a different question? Should the countries help the clubs? So should the countries say, wait again, it's Andorra, it's Algeria, they're friendlies. You know what, Mamelodi Sundowns, let's help you guys and say, you know what, we're going to take the under-20s. Or we're going to take the COSAFA team or something like that because these games of consequence are happening in the middle of the season.
Yeah, I wonder if even though the friendlies, but I agree friendlies are there to implement the young guns in.
Yeah.
But also the friendlies are there to also work on your tactics for you to guys for your senior players to bond and to actually find one another. Remember, you don't have enough times or days where you guys actually get to work on your game plans. So it's a touch and go situation. Then again, if you bring on the entire squad, Chiefs, and say go play Andorra, they're gonna feel disrespected because when they wanna play Bafana, they wanna see Sundowns players. The same goes for another France is coming, but she le boom bab, but you like or Batoko Championship. So yeah, it's a respect thing, guy. Like I'm being honest.
Theo, I remember last year, Mamelodi Sundowns playing TS Galaxy. I believe it was 2 days after Bafana had played, and I don't know if they agree with him still. But Rulani was complaining about certain things. How does these internationals and FIFA breaks? How do they affect the clubs? How do they affect the clubs? And I know you had you came up with an idea there, but what else can be done maybe to stop that from being such a big thing, if it is a big thing?
OT, who cares that my players are not? Yeah, that one was a movie, man. It was a movie. It was very, very crazy. But
it started the biggest feud. It started the biggest feud we saw last year.
And then he went on and then he said, yeah, but if my players were here, so that means these guys that way, they were not his players, but that's equal about it. But he had a valid point, OT. He had a valid point. If it was a CAF Champions League final, let's say it's not Culling, let's say it's a Champions League final.
Yeah.
And then his players just played 2 days. What do we do? Or let's say it's an M108 final where they wanted to throw the Pirates from from being winning it maybe for the fourth time. There's no way OT he will not come back and be angry to EPSL. And also we can come and say EPSL OT, I feel like for me personally, and PSL and the CAF, we know they have issues and all of that. But for the sake of our league, OT, for the sake of the improvement of our league, and also to make it more competitive, to make it more interesting as it has been at the moment, I think Ipetwe has brought a different beast in the league. They have made the league to be more like even OT even right now, you remember you once had a topic coach this thing not just good. Is 10-10s. And we talked about, I remember for the first time I heard people analyzing Team Young, I was like, what? Yeah, but if OT these things are whereby international weeks, they continue. For me, they create an instability whereby OT as if let's say who's the best player in Sundowns? And bafana manje bonke uzwane eyisebhenjini Morena. No, I'm just trying to make a point. The only player that I think is the best Ribeiro, so he's not South African, so we can't count him. I'm just trying to see Labakona Balanzat. Umudau, yeah, he's no longer sailor, the one that is sailing. But I would say for Mokwena, I would see, for an example. Yeah. Let's say Mokwena is at his peak, like he was, AFCON. He's doing that for South Africa, and then now also good national team. If he gets, also good Sundowns. If OT that player gets injured, good national team, it then becomes a challenge for the coach. Uguti, how do I then integrate him back to the team again? And if OT is right, do I release him to go back for a game? About the Andorra Jongova Shukum or about the Nalamatimale Europe. So it becomes a challenge by priorities to be set. For me, OT, I think also PSL should give our teams the right to choose if they want to release their players or not. OT, it's about time that if a Chiefs is doing so well, and we know that Sereno is our spike, there's no way OT will release Sereno, Ayolimale, a training ground, and then now the team has to lose 4 games in a row, and then all of a sudden we're fighting in relegation. You understand? Or we, like for example, Sundowns, if Gulimalu Mudiba, Gulimalu Sailor, already they're in trouble. Not unless if they cover, man, lama cover ba film, man, Champions League. Lama cover ba OT bangas coaches, Champions League. But supposedly they don't have any covers. OT. If those 2 players get injured, that means Sundowns they've already lost the CAF Champions League. So unless OT PSL raises a hand and say, "Oh, I'm a team OT," they say, "No, man, we can't continue doing this. You guys must give us spaces enough. Players must release us. The next coming few games will have time for them to recover." Because if you remember, OT, I'm playing a cup. It's a cup game, and obviously, when it's a cup game, he wanted to win that game. They can say whatever, but the plastic cup, had they won that game, OT, they would have made the cup interesting, at least, you understand? And for him to cry about his players, he's crying about players that he knows they are a pillar bafana, but they're also a pillar in his system, Sundowns. So for me, I think they need to find a way, OT, EPSL and the CAF, to talk to the team. Okay, we can rather negotiate. Guti, are you guys willing to release? We all know that was he can start move lanes or campaign. We know that. But did we complain about it? No. Why? Because he's there and we don't care. Because he was fighting campaign. I cannot lose my best striker. And at that time he was starting every game. So I'm making an example.
While he's fighting for relegation.
Yeah, imagine that. If Nangabe OT Umakopa is banging goals ngapa nangapa, no man come, he's banging goals ngapa nangapa. There's no way OT is an Pirates. Man go the striker sabe senior man Slimel. They will release Umakopa. If Mabasa is injured, there's no way they will release Umakopa to Bafana by choice. So their hand will only be forced. And then if maybe Umakopa gets injured, then says OT. They must change the system because of that. It's not fair.
Okay. Let me bring you Prasem, man. Prasem, Kenya, man, could depend. Prasem, I don't know if you want to jump in. Are you with me?
Hey, shaketse botangwana network ya mbaizisa.
Okay. Then we'll go from there. Prasem, internationals, how do they affect clubs? And is it fair? Is it fine? Or what must they do to change it?
Personally, nah. It's fair. We won't change much about it because now it gives other teams a break to rebuild. It's about disadvantages to teams like Sundowns because you'll take like 12 players and then they come back injured, tired, and all that. But teams like the Chiefs, they have all the time to build, to work on their strategies and build a team so the team can gel and then work on some tactics.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of when if you quality you'll feel the fire because I don't record quality players well. So let the others have the benefit as well of that intentional break.
Oh, okay. So that's okay. That's an interesting way to look at it. Dore, lona linsitse tšhelete la kgona go reka batho from go South America le what ke advantage. Maybe having this time. Okay. I never thought of that one. No, I never thought of that one. Hore, hi man. Maybe they do need the time like Amazulu, but then does it become too unfair at times, Prasem? As we're talking about Tabaya Rulani last season, yeah, who cares? Does it become too unfair? Hore, man, half of my starters are now playing for Bafana. Redala game, Militias Galaxy 2 days after Batamaile. They expected to come in, even if they were available, they would have played 2 days earlier, but Ravula Bayetang. Is that maybe the problem here, Hore? Sometimes it becomes a little bit too unfair on some of these teams.
That one if announced it was unfair, to be honest. They should have maybe put the game 2 days further, maybe 3 days to. But the problem with that, Sundowns is always behind. If we're gonna push again, that means it will mess up the schedule of the league because this thing is a business. By this date, it must be finished and then crown champion so that sponsors can do whatever that they need to do, crown player of the season, all those things. So it's time framed.
Yeah.
So Lokamfabek will come and complain. So
Okay. Agent, I want to come to you with this question. Now we're talking about structure. We've spoken about maybe taking a month and saying all of the internationals or the friendlies or the qualifiers should be played within a month or two, where you get maybe consecutive weeks where Bafana can play 4 or 5 games, for example, before having to break the PSL again. Let's talk about the actual now PSL versus everything else. We spoke a couple of weeks ago about the MTN8, how there were no games on Wednesday, for example, and there's that respect given to cups and sponsors and all of that. Should that respect be there, number one? But then when you look at internationals, when rugby is playing, Sia goes and plays for the Springboks. They have an understanding that Sia goes and plays for the Springboks while they're playing Currie Cup. Other guys play this side. Should there be something like that? Can there be something like that in football?
Well, not in terms of football. In terms of it's South African that it is not happening. Like almost Abutukum either way. What Abutukum was saying. In Egypt, it happens, that Ahly is way behind because they're given the respect and time to prepare, and they come back and, so it's only in SA, and I don't know if they still do it in Egypt, but sometimes, leagues continue, if your players are not chosen, they still continue to games. So I think it's just our FA maybe, because Chiefs have no right not to be playing right now, because one player is missing, so you and Maruma Gowns can play, So I think maybe just as how we respect the international break, maybe, but otherwise, there's nothing stopping us from continuing in that sense. Yeah.
So then can you maybe can we delve into maybe why it's like that? That when it's a cup game, even though MTN 8 theoretically is only 8 teams, like, okay, not theoretically, the fact that it's only 8 teams taking part, there's another couple of fixtures that could have happened throughout that time, especially knowing that AFCON is coming, babang, they're complaining about Club World Cups, babang, they're doing this, babang. Are we utilizing the calendar properly?
Yeah, well, I don't know where we get the idea, that what is the word? We can play towards the quarterfinals and stuff like that. And again, if finals are so important, why can't we just be at the end of the season? You can qualify, and then we'll just, like the FA Cup is end of the season, everyone can give it the right platform and everything, So South Africa is a weird place, to be honest with you. And like I was saying, maybe with Pirates in the CAF, maybe there will be changes, but yeah.
Okay. Kumo, are we using the calendar correctly, both on the big scale of international football, but also club football? Are we doing the right things, man? Putting the games in the right places, being flexible at times, or is there an issue there? How do you feel about how we're using that calendar?
Or our football calendar?
In general, so FIFA as a whole, but then also South Africa, locally.
We try. I mean, like, as I've mentioned earlier before, we try to align with your European calendar as well, right? So, you get some favoritism, like we see Caparete here and there. But other than that, we try. I don't know how we can improve, but in terms of applying the calendar, I don't see any problem. Just like you mentioned before, why weren't we playing during the break against MTN 8? Because that could have been like an advantage for us to actually get some game time for the teams that are not playing. They treated this final like the final World Cup between Maradona and Pele. Like, I'm like, really? We could have played. There was no need for us to stop. So in that, gonna fella and Twiggy winning, honestly.
Why do you think it's like that? Is it too much respect for commercial partners type of thing? Why is the PSL doing those type of things? Do you think?
Khoza, chairman and his team was playing. Why the questions to the thing?
But it happens all the time. I mean, even Kari semi-final, didn't we have a blackout that weekend? Even that week, if I'm not mistaken.
Nenkele Sundowns engeri jetse marumo galanze ka mantaha ka lobedi ka la boraro ba Chiefs finally ba re ka 2 ka la boraro ka Saturday wa tlhalohanya. So nothing didn't say lady heads already won because we always are victimized. So re bona mpere bona so na mara my brother lo ka re ala ka re wa defend azanga ranna this so much of a break before so ebena awukona hahle.
Let me go to Theo. Yazi, we have so much time on our hands. Sasa sayenze ni trophy. Satai Kufa Cup. Satai so dalama friendly ne Sundowns during the week because there's so much time off. Are we using this calendar correctly? Go PSL, but also go FIFA. Is this thing working fine? Because now AFL apparently can't come back because they can't find the time for it. They can't squeeze it in somewhere. Are they doing these things properly? Masiti calendar.
I would say what I'm clear about is what Sam said. They're giving us enough time. When they come back, we're gonna win 5 games in a row. But anyway, it's very boring and it's very agitating. And what infuriates him to even make it seem as if ukubrakhoza wenza yonke lento le. But for me, we also need to look at it in a bigger picture in OT. Yabo. If nangabe i-CAF, yabo, for an example, they cannot be flexible enough to understand which there are certain leagues OT that are being revived. Yabo. PSL is being revived. We need to be honest. You know, we need to. It's going back to where it used to be, where a league can be won by 3 or 4 teams. You know, where there's a very interesting run of it. And to see what happened last week, it was very. I think for me, it was kind of sad and childish at the same time because you have achieved the Sundowns, who just came out of a big game. That was the big talk of the week. And then all of a sudden, you're going to stay the whole damn week and not even put even. Also, I mean, I think if we played Wednesday and then other teams plays on Tuesday, Pirates still goes and plays the final. Or you can rather rest the Pirates, Nali, Stellenbosch, and then those guys can go and play final. But let the teams that were not playing final OT to make the week more interesting. And also, I also think whether our cause was in the board or not, it doesn't change the fact that, you know, these are decisions that are not made by one man. They are made by many people. Even I got decided hey, I'm gonna fund the money, so I'm closing AFL. He's being told now because there are people behind everything. But for EPSL OT, there are so many things that we still need to improve on. And also, OT, you can't tell me which is Sundowns player, you know, that are in the national team. And in the next coming few months or so, OT, we're gonna also come back and they get tired, they get drained out, and also OT, you cannot always be giving 100%. So for me, I mean, I'm a player about so we should have played already. I think our league should be having 7 or 6 games. Like we should have played more than 7 or 6 games already. Because you look overseas, OT, those guys, they are smart. They are gonna be games up by Champions League. Like they don't, and the nice thing about them is that they are able to play league midweek. Whereas we are playing, they are able to play Champions League midweek. Whereas in Champions League, if weekend, which is another problem. Why are they not squeezing Champions League during the week? So that those teams that are playing there, sometimes Pirates, they can go play there. But here, because at the end of the day, it's not Sundowns and Pirates that are interesting in the league. It's Chiefs. You play Chiefs any time of the week, you know the league is going to be interesting. You know there's going to be a talking point. And Stellenbosch, let's try and put them on the map as well, OT. Yeah.
I think what's interesting about this, before I go 2%, what's interesting for me is there must be a way to make the calendar, Uguti, man, fine, Marumo Gallants was meant to play Sundowns. Sundowns can't come because of CAF. Let Marumo Gallants play somebody else so that later on, when Sundowns comes back, Gallants, man, they're not one game behind or you have to squeeze it or do whatever. It should be flexible. And I think if you look at, I think it's the English Premiership, they have a lot of rescheduled games. But to be fair, if I can play devil's advocate, to be fair, maybe these teams have booked in advance. Maybe these teams have done things in advance, and maybe it's tough to change on the fly. I don't know if that's the reasoning because it's not like Manama fans at Kwalisama Stadium. But maybe that's the thinking. Let me go to Mayor.
Sorry to catch you there. I remember if Sundowns as if we have already done our calendar for the whole year.
Yeah.
For the whole season, I mean. Imagine. So if you've already done your whole season, you don't even care about these things as in Zagala man. Should the 2 weeks left is not dedicated for. And that's a problem for me also.
Okay, let me go. Hansel on TikTok is saying, Mr. Oti, Hugo Bruce asked to have the squad early for proper preparation. No, Hansel, I hear you. And it's a nice thing that they gave him that. But the problem becomes when people are crying later on in the year and people are getting injured and they have to play back to back, and they're crying that they don't have time to sit down with their players and install tactics and do all of those things. These are the weeks where they'll look back and think, we could have put something there. The fact that Chiefs and Sundowns is playing a friendly or have played, I don't know if they've already played it, they're playing a friendly. The fact that there's the Kufa Cup that's happening, the fact that other teams are playing. I think it was Richards Bay and was it Amazulu have played a friendly, for example, together because they were like, we cannot sit. Surely that means that, man, can't we use this time? But let me go to Prasem. Prasem, Orinta calendar, Prasem Pela Lona. You're about to go into a heavy schedule, Nani, CAF Champions League, all of those type of things. We want to know, how do you feel about this thing, calendar, and are they using it properly?
First things first, ne? I want to announce, even if you can say, guys, create your own schedule, I'm telling you, they will still complain because now they have so many games. They won't even manage it themselves.
Yeah.
So how do you expect someone else to manage it for them? It's not easy to manage this thing in a time frame. People must understand this thing is a time frame. Or by 26 May, the league must end. Or we are not Egypt, Morocco. That's not our problem. The league must end when 26, and we must make it. Must make a way or a fair like 26. Plus, there's this many cups. We have MTN, we have Black Label, we have everything Nedbank. So you see, this competition are too many. Now they have this thing, African African top 8.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then another thing.
Mara, isn't that what they're complaining about? I think Sundowns went to the league and said, "Oh, Mara, guys, can we please play some games now? Can we please take some time now?" Like there was the time before the MTN 8, that week of the MTN 8, where they were like, "Guys, can we please play on Wednesday?" So that they're full man. So that later on, Riskaba all over the place, Lerona, to give them credit.
But then remember, the reason why League League is because of the sponsorship of changes from DStv to Betway. There was no clarity or what's happening, what's the prize money, what's what. So they're still trying to work on that. Hence the League League. Normally the league will start about 8 August, but this year it's started over September because of that change of sponsorship. Otherwise, the league could have started earlier.
We are off for 2 weeks. We've been off for 2 weeks so many times. How can we get some games to play, or can you please not make me play 3 days if I've been off 2 weeks? You know?
Was that why they did another age?
Yeah.
Because the team is coaching didn't qualify for other competition, so you have too much time. Use that time because you need it later.
That's what they say.
So the same will come and complain that January, because of this back-to-back competition. Use it now so that later when it comes, your team is fit. And the reason why they stopped the game to play during MTN, they want all the attention to go to MTN so that MTN can do what? Maximize the profit. That's why I said this thing is not about teams. It's about the business. The MTN wants return on this investment. So when the league play, imagine Tuesday, Chiefs DStv, premiership, Betway. Wednesday, because they were knocked out, and then Saturday there's a cup. You think the stadium will be full? No, obviously not, because people will be going to the stadium during the week, so they might compromise going to the weekend because during the week never go stadium.
Mara Pirates are during the week. I still not the stadium.
Hence, I'm saying no game should play before the final. The whole week, the attention must be on the cup final, so that there's no other games where people can go. People must be hungry for the game. So that when the game day come, everyone goes to the stadium. But everyone is interested because there's been a while without a game.
Yeah. Hi. Okay. Let me bring you to Benny. Welcome. How are you? Ngimnandi. Ngifaka ku-depend. We were speaking about international break, but now we're speaking about the calendar as a whole. Do you think FIFA is using the calendar correctly? Ngalama international breaks in the middle, and then do you think that I'm a local league like PSL, for example, is it using its calendar correctly? Where man, Konama team, when you're always making fun of Yankwero, you know. When Chiefs and then all of a sudden, but it's Sunday, but it's Saturday, Tuesday, when they've had all this time off. Do you think that they're using the calendar correctly?
No, ngibulise bani bonke abafethu la ku-panel. Welcome to South Africa, where abantu they are playing i-CAF Cup, but they will tell you ukuthi i-1080 Cup lamasimba. Abanye badlala i-Cup labo e-Africa lama-mine owners, but bazokutshela ukuthi i-M108 udoti. And ngapha abantu babo yi-president ye-CAF, but bakhalela thina. I-FIFA calendar ayikaze abanenkinga. Sundowns kuphela complain ngayo. It's straightforward. We need to check it and stop complaining ngento engekho.
Yeah.
FIFA calendar is straightforward. You know when is World Cup playing. We know when release a calendar yabo early. The only problem esinokuba nayo thina kakhulu la ikhosa yonke lento ile ephethe ubababo i-CAF, which you only knew after ama group stages draw ukuthi iyodlala when is the next date CAF games. They don't have a calendar bona. They only release them a date after. They behave like PSL. If only nabo they could come into order CAF, then this thing can be avoided, because you will know good when are the CAF dates, so that you can plan carefully for PSL dates and cup dates also. In terms of good move ama games, PSL has got its own calendar. They plan their games. If akudlali ma game on that week, which means vele benganama game on that week, it's not to say about cancelile. No, they were not there. They were not there. They don't do that. So singakhala siday because siphumile cup in singadlali final, because if we're in that cup final, we are complaining because we are out. We have to stay out 2 weeks. Lindile abanye siphumile sikhalela ngoba siphumile early. Because if as Puma kube nsadlala kuba zikho zonke le nkulumo. So PSL they do that. They don't, if abafaka ama game should bangekho. And secondly, you cannot just rope in the game just because by postpone it lastly nilly. No, it doesn't involve around you pale. They also take into consideration the club odlala nayo. Because nayo the opinion it matters. So it's not about you. As a step father, I'm a step sons with like complainer too much, man. So they must shift.
But really, isn't it then? Because it's the question I was asking about the international week, international what the calendar and whatever. I think for me, it's fine. I'll figure out final. I understand what you're saying there, Mara. Wouldn't there be an advantage to playing other games so that if Pirates might get a final or Ribuya, there's also flexibility to put their games in as well? So if maybe Gallants is a game ahead because they played during Ivigile Pirates, it means that when it comes time for the Pirates game, when Pirates is now available, now they've got some flexibility because Gallants is also not chasing games. So isn't it one of those things, Oguti man, let's try and get as much out so that it's be flexible for everyone? Because take for example, Kaizer Chiefs, they were complaining, Guti, well, Unabi, hey, let me say Unabi. They were complaining, Guti, we are off for 2 weeks, then we play 2 games, quick succession, then we are off for 2 weeks again. Maybe it would have been nicer or easier for the teams if Ndala that week, and then I have a week off or a week to prepare, then Ndale Futi. It makes it even maybe nicer for those teams. I don't know, but Mina, I think it's not necessarily Guti Meleba Chinche now. When the league, Mabakala, when they're planning the league, can't they say, okay, say as M108, it's 8 teams. Can we maybe schedule games for the other 8 teams? Guti man, let's eat up some games ngale so that we can be flexible later on. If that makes sense.
No, I sebenza kanjalo mntakababa. I sebenza kanjalo. This how it works. PSL ihlala phansi got its own calendar. Actually, kuqala CAF. Do you know CAF calendar? It was from January to December. Up until bona laba abakamakhala njalo bethu ba complain bakufika bababo yashintshwa.
Because
into Ireland and the European calendar. You know, it was from January. CAF calendar was from January to. That's why they couldn't get a break. Because remember, if CAF calendar started from February to December, and then you've got the PSL season, which started from August to May. there was a conflict there because when the PSL is off, and then some of the players, their contract could run into an end. Register to CAF. It affected them CAF, that calendar in most clubs. Egypt is the one that didn't buy this thing with Bazoshinja according to CAF calendar. They remained with their own calendar. And Egyptian Premier League understand that no, that's their plan, and they don't mind. Sometimes I'll actually be behind in 5 games. They know they'll still come back and capture up. And also when it comes to PSL, calendar PSL, they've got games allocated like on my weekend and even during the week. So in order for you to cancel a game for when not play this weekend, is because we've got committed like this season. We've got commitment to CAF. Sundowns, Pirates, Stellenbosch this season. So if there were games that they were allocated, let's say for example for next week Wednesday, involving those 3 teams, those games will be postponed. But they only postpone them. The other one, as in Vagayo, they still remain on those things. Because what will happen if one of those teams get knocked out on that competition? You don't need to change the whole calendar of the game behind. The other league remains the same. We only postpone one game, one match, and put it wherever there was no allocation. We put it there during that week. As Kaizer, we don't move around the own fixture list. If the fixture still remains same, because possibility to Puma corn.
But then, Mina Nguza, like the Egyptian league, they're very famous for not stopping. Al Ahly or even Egypt, the national team, they'll go, guys, you guys can go play Tina to maximize our time and also to make sure with Al Ahly Maibuya, we don't have too much to bring them in. We're going to carry on playing Tina. Shouldn't the PSL also take some of that attitude? Guti, okay, fine. These guys are gone. Not even for CAF, for more locally. These teams are playing cup games. These ones are doing this. Can we be flexible, we calendar, to say, like they do with the CAF Guti, this is a possible CAF Champions League day. And if you look at the calendar, they have the possible days. Then if it's not possible or if something changes, they just slot back in late game. Can't they do that for our local games as well? As in league get where we control.
Sikhuluma into eyi-one kodwa ngathi siyakhona bese ngathola nekhona bafo. What I'm saying mina ukuthi even naku-Egyptians they roll out the fixture for a season yabo. From February to December. The fixtures that they're there. What happened? Remember when you play CAF, you take out the FIFA date in terms of qualifiers on CAF and the World Cup qualifiers. You take them out. You've got the fixture. In that fixture, next weekend, the next weekend, let's say this weekend, wonke ama-team ayadlala, ne? And the Pirates, the Sundowns, the Stellenbosch, they are still taking part in CAF. Kunama fixture this weekend. Kunama fixture during the week next week. Kunama fixture like the following weekend. The other week it's a FIFA date. So when the FIFA date let's say by 19 next weekend, whereby see allocated a game, my team from Friday to Sunday. Out of all those fixtures, out of all those 8 fixtures, we've got 16 teams, it's 8 fixtures. Now, which means there are 3 games that they're not going to play. And those 3 games, they affect Stellenbosch, the Pirates, the Sundowns. And then my team now we are fixturing now on that date. I3. So I cancel a little game. But you find that the other during the weekend last week, aguna fixture game on that week. Then we move this fixture to that particular date. The other ones they still remain the same. Our change. If it's a fixture, young 16th got December.
No, Minangiti. Forget about CAF. Nkuluma like for MTN8, for example. MTN8, we know that there's going to be 8 teams that are taking part. So is it worth it to have an entire week dedicated to MTN8 when you could have a weekend dedicated to MTN8 Nalaoma team and still have fixtures for the other guys? That's the question I'm asking here, Guti.
Yeah.
We know Richards Bay, the Chiefs, is not going to play
Yeah.
MTN 8. So why not have Ivigile MTN 8 on the Wednesday? Let them play so that when Abo Pirates come back, Richards Bay is not also behind on games. Then you can be a little bit more flexible with even Le Pirates Mababu, if that makes sense. We are off for 2 weeks. Then start quick fire, 2 games. Two games, quick. Then we're off again for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but normally, if you look at it, this one was just one of those unfortunate circumstances whereby we basically under sponsor, and then we did get a sponsor late. So that's why the first fixtures go away cup, and then already you've got a date that has been set for a cup final, and it illegally late. Like normally, on a normal season, Lama team labo was only for only 1 week. Then go be 2 weeks, like it happened now. Normally it's only one because top 8 is an off-season tournament. Normally those are the first games in most cases. Before we are good league, those are the first game. So that space is normally reserved for those fixtures in a normal season. It's just that this one was unfortunate, whereby a good league it has to be postponed later due to the issue of sponsorship. But in a normal season, it only affected for only a week.
Well, this is what I'm saying, Guti. In this time when you are losing games and you don't have the same amount of games, it doesn't make sense for me for teams to be off for 2 weeks. That's the point I'm making, Guti. The league had already started. Usakumbula, we had spoken about the league, and then it was like, you're making fun of me because other teams are even playing. Each Chiefs plays. You get what I mean? And I'm like, so if we don't have as many games, as many days, but you still find times where you can do that instead of maximizing those times. Mostly those times because the AFCON years, it's gonna disrupt. In years, it's gonna disrupt. Okay, at least AFL was cancelled or allegedly cancelled. And I'm like, Mara guys, are we using your time properly? But anyway, for time's sake,
and the last season we had to postpone some of our games for that AFL, and then
you get what I mean?
But complain,
No, but for time's sake, guys, I think I'm gonna close it. But what I'm gonna say is, Kumo, can you give me maybe your closing statements for today? How do you feel about international football? How do we get the love back for international football in general?
Remove all the Pirates players from our national team.
Evan.
I'm just saying they had no value, but to me, what for? Why? We can get back the glory days because Sundowns so fed. We all gonna love the football, bafana. Sharp, cheers.
Like, Prasem, how do we get interest back in the national team? Come on, now it feels like international football, man. Babang Abatsebi or Bafana's playing tomorrow. Babang don't care or Bafana's playing tomorrow. This international stuff, man. I sana that thing. Even the internationals, I saw now England is playing Greece. I don't see anybody super excited for that. What's along with this international football? How do we get the love back?
As for how we get it back, I don't know because no. That's very boring, Shem. I don't want to lie. I wish I had ideas. I don't have any.
Yeah. No, it's fine. How do you feel about how do you feel generally about the conversation we had now?
And get out. But again, in chat, the parents go squad thing. Hey, I would love that. We're just wasting time. Let Sundowns play. The nation gotta give a bafana. We don't care.
Yeah. Hey, Prasem. Okay, Prasem. Velile. Let me ask you, since you came in late.
Yeah.
How do you feel about international football, and how do we get the love back for international football? Because for me, I sana that thing, or maybe Tina, we are outside. Maybe people feel that way. How do you feel about international football? And see Luis Aranjan, Leon?
You remove the politicians from the South African Football Association. You put the former players and the people who are interested in running that football association like professionally, which will see also even our junior teams playing regularly, because some of the players, like the young ones, we should see them like previously, graduating from under 20, under 28 up until to senior national team. But as long as the politicians now are there, it's only about politics now. Soccer has just become politics, especially on the SAFA level, because you'll hear people complaining and saying, certain things that are done by like the issue of referees. Yeah. You'll say, no, that issue is the issue of SAFA. It doesn't concern the PSL. And you'll see the chairperson of the PSL will say, no, that issue is with SAFA. But he's the deputy president of SAFA. So you'll ask yourself, how? This person is the deputy president of SAFA, and then you come, and the referees are messing up on your product, which is the Betway Premiership. You come and say, but this is an issue of SAFA, but you are part of SAFA. So it really doesn't make sense. You see, it's only about politics and who doesn't like to take out the politician out of that thing and then just let people who are interested in running our football professionally. I think the interest will come back, because that's when you'll get the marketing of the SAFA side, the marketing of the Bafana matches, knowing Xasene's card with Bafana is playing, and create the whole vibe and the whole mood like it was previously done. Unlike now, there's quietness. And also in terms of broadcasting, be clear who broadcasts Bafana matches, either SuperSport or SABC. SABC also, when they broadcast that match, they must take us serious. What SABC, what app or in that thing? Yeah, we fully game with TV. I told you must just stop confusing people. They must just streamline what they know, negotiate good broadcasting rights, so that we know good where you catch those TV. It's also because it will be easier even for them to sell to that advertising space there.
Can we just? I want to take some time. Can we talk about the relationship, CAF, SAFA, PSL, the three of them, how they related to each other? Because for me, I think one of the failures of CAF is they're not strong enough on everyone. It almost feels like if North Africa is okay, what about the inline valley for themselves, and they run it that way, the rest of the people don't matter. And that's where you find SAFA and the PSL not hearing each other. Like, for example, when you speak about the calendar, there is no way. AFL. I'm sure they have SAFA meetings where Dr. Ivan Khoza ukona, for example. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you hear the PSL didn't know anything about the AFL. And then CAF is saying, but we can't step in, guys. We can't step in because there's going to Kulman PSL straight. Can we speak about that in the African context? Because you don't hear these things in Europe. In Europe, a lot of the time, even though by Alwa, it feels as though they move in one line from the top body all the way down. And we could maybe even speak about FIFA. If it's not UEFA, abanandaba.
Did you see it coming? Patrice Motsepe can be a CAF president. Jordaan, who's the president of SAFA. Did you see it coming?
No, honestly, no.
No one saw it coming, but it happened. No one doesn't even know how and Guzeganjan. And we know also our president, he has been attempting to be president of CAF, Jordaan. And they were like it's kind of thing because of not getting enough votes. And sometimes amanye football vote our corner like and not even getting along with the guys about locally. So if there is not that chain whereby this thing should be at our advantage, because we've got one of our own there, CAF. These things in the communication should have just come naturally to us, yes, Sisong. And that's where you see it careful. Because it seems like there's this relationship between Infantino Bano Motsepe. Bano Motsepe. You see a relationship between the CAF and the FIFA has improved. This Motsepe. We don't know vele bekahambisana ukuthi angene no, but I don't think Motsepe from the SAFA side noma lapha he's getting enough support, because whether we like it or not, South Africa has an influence on that CAF, and in terms of how it is run, and also in terms of contribution kumthetho wakhona and the planning of all the calendar nazo zonke and the running of CAF. So I don't think angiyacabanga nje ukuzwana akukho kahle ngaleyo ndlela. It's not like tight as the relationship between Motsepe and Infantino as compared to Motsepe no Dennis Jordaan. And surely it will affect the South African Football Association, and the amount of Amagehla foot you still have a bad blood between khoza and Dennis Jordaan foot also. So nothing positive will come out of that situation.
Do you think that maybe CAF, and I want to make it a little bit bigger, because it's not just Tina who are affected by these things. Do you think that CAF decisions are not made for everyone, in terms of, like, for example, I don't think travel is a tough thing to fix with CAF, like traveling and all of that stuff, and how hard it is to get around Africa. I don't think it's hard to fix, but the guys who can travel and afford to do it, as long as you can do it as Nanda. So even if you look at the CAF Champions League, Pirates, Sundowns, Ahly, Wydad, those teams are not gonna, they don't care about travel. They'll charter jets if they need to charter jets. Back on look afford. But now the rest of the teams, the rest of the teams have the problem in CAF and Nanda. Do you think that maybe there's an issue there with CAF now is only focused on the top level of football, if I can put it like that, or the top level of our team?
No, but on that one, I guess see play mega cool CAF. Unless if we can say CAF comes out straight and take the administration side of all the teams that are participating in CAF Champions League, maybe that can be a different story. If CAF can take ownership in terms of like administration of traveling, which is in charge of booking those flights, and also if they can see that, because it's not only about Yonakpela, it's also about the politics in Africa, and there is some of the region in Africa, because some of the countries you have got issues with visa, so it's others are just political, which affect CAF in a way. But if CAF was running it that department, and make sure the relationship is created between all the 54 CAF presidents, African presidents, footballing president, and also the relationship between the countries, then it could work. But while it's still left to each team to try and organize their own movement, how will they move into this part and this part? That's why you'll see delay.
But isn't it supposed to be like that?
I don't believe UEFA. Yeah, I don't believe UEFA has just left everything to all the teams than none. Even though in Europe it's easier, because you can take a train from Britain to Spain to France. You can use it in a train, a 2 hour, 3 hour difference in terms of like traveling those countries. It's easier. It's like, unlike here also, because it involves a business and the flights, the availability of flights, because it depends on that particular country which flights are operating.
I think if I can jump in while Uvelile is reconnecting. Look, this is the base problem that I have with African football. From the continental aspect to the association aspect, all the way down to the clubs. It feels like there's no togetherness through all of the ranks. UEFA is strong because UEFA, they've come together and they've decided that this is what we need to do in order to go forward. And football is a very important thing to Europe and Europe's economy and all of those things. So we need to make things easier. There's no way, just logically, and I'll say allegedly, but there's no way we should be sitting in a situation where Dr. Irvin Khoza is one of the 4 vice presidents. So directly under Gavin, under Danny Jordaan, you have Lydia Munyepao. Then you have the four vice presidents. Natasha Chiklas is one of them. I forgot. Bennett is one of them. And then Dr. Irvin Khoza is one of them, as somebody who sits on the PSL who's the chairman of the PSL. So I find it hard to believe that, example, the AFL conversations were happening at a high level in CAF, and they included Jordaan, and there was no way for those things to filter down to our Dr. Ivan Khoza, where the PSL can say they were taken by surprise. And I think that's just a function of everybody wanting to do their own thing and not necessarily wanting to do what's best for African football. There's plenty of things you can do to curb the thing about travel. You could regionalize it. So you could say, okay, fine, guys, this is the new CAF Champions League. How we're going to play it is we're going to have 3 pots where we'll have those teams traveling amongst each other. So it's easier for Zwaneng to come to South Africa than it is for them to go to Egypt. For example, I'm just using examples. It's easier for them to do those things. Then what happens is, after that, you then have the big travel where maybe they have to travel for 4 matches instead of 10, for example, or heavy travel. There's things you can do, and what tends to happen is we watch Abo UEFA do these things. Guys, UEFA changed its whole Champions League format. You know why that changed? It's because teams were complaining, especially the big ones, saying that, no, we want to go start our own league where we can leverage. Let us go make a Super League. And UEFA went, we can't lose these guys, so let's put it together in a way where we can make them happy, give them more ways to make money, but also not leave out the rest of Europe. Now, there's 80 teams that take part in the Champions League and in the Europa League, and there's still a Conference League on top, because they're moving for the benefit of European football. But then in Africa, even if we look at the PSL, you're finding teams having to play back to back to back to back to back to back to back without actually taking part in Africa. But we have tons of space on the calendar that could have been taken up. Is it better to see, I'll just use my team Chiefs as an example. Is it better to see Nabi bang bang 2 games in a row, or would it be better to give them a week, which is possible with the time frames? And now we might see a better product. And then if we do those type of things, it becomes easier for when Sundowns have to come back. The Egyptian League, for example, much better in their structure. The Egyptian League makes sure that, guys, Ahly has to go play these games. They're going to have to catch up. But we're not going to inconvenience anybody else, because we're going to keep the league play. We're going to try play as many league games as we can, so we can be a lot more flexible. It becomes maybe better for that league. But with us, man, and maybe one day we'll have that big topic of the CAF, the Confederation of African Football, and how their relationship with everybody else maybe harms African football. I mean, we've spoken before about having an AFL. Last season, we had an AFL that had 8 teams, which, oh, by the way, are the same 8 teams that play in the knockout stages of the CAF Champions League. A CAF Champions League that only has 16 teams. So already, how many teams have been cut out of maybe being part of that? To give them credit, this year they actually gave teams money for the prelim stuff for their travel. Fine. But if you look at the rest of the world and what they're doing, or not the rest of the world, let's look at Europe and what they're doing. 40 teams playing all against each other, which means that you're not going to get Ahly maybe by surprise. That means there's some Romanian team that's going to be able to play Real Madrid, that's going to be able to play, I don't know, Man City, that's going to be able to play Barcelona, Real Madrid as part of their program and make money from that as well, when they do those things, when they've changed their format. So now when you look at it, they've made those changes for the betterment of European football. When are we going to see those type of things in Africa, where it's not just for Ahly, Sundowns, no disrespect to them, for Ahly, Sundowns, the teams that have money? When are we going to see other countries with lesser associations benefit from being able to play with Ahly, mamelodi Sundowns, Mang Mang on a regular basis? where we can see those type of things start to create wealth and change things all across the continent. You could even change the structure and say, okay, we've got more teams, but we'll do it similar to what Europe is doing with a league format, and we'll have the more affluent teams be the ones that are traveling to the teams that don't have maybe the same type of stuff. So now you find a team in, I don't know, South Sudan that maybe doesn't have the money and the resources and all of that to go all over the place, benefit from having Ahly come there. Maybe a few years from now, you start seeing Ahly have presence around Africa, and that means that we might want to go watch more football games for African games. Can you imagine a league format where you know that Wydad's going to play Pirates, Wydad's going to, not Wydad's out this year, but Ahly's going to play Pirates for sure. They're going to go play Sundowns for sure. Now I know that at the very least I've created 2 really great games in South Africa where we'll want to go watch. And maybe that raises then we do the same with TP Mazembe, That's what's happening in Europe right now. There's a reason why they changed that thing, for example. But anyway, before I get too far, hey? Guys, thank you so much for joining. That was the members show. So the people you heard speak today were members who are on the WhatsApp group. In the WhatsApp group, if you want to join, you have to go on over to YouTube, click on subscribe, click on join, and you'll be let into the WhatsApp group. And you can have conversations with me, with Abo Velile, Abo Agent, Abo Kumo, and all of those people. The normal show is on every Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. You'll find us here. But if Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates, Mamelodi Sundowns, Bafana, Banyana, UWC, we're going to start doing those games. Go the Women's Champions League. We will be here live, also speaking. Today is the members' perk. They choose the topic, they vote on it, they're the ones who speak. I don't take too many calls, but for the rest of the time, you will be able to jump in and we can have conversations about whatever it is we're speaking about. If you want to watch any of the previous episodes back, they're available in full on YouTube, as well as my own content that I try drop frequently about my own thoughts. If you want to know what I think about certain things, you can go on over to YouTube, you can see my TikTok, you can go to Facebook, and you can actually see what I think about a lot of the stuff. So please support us creators, and yeah, guys, let's share, let's like, let's comment. It might feel like a small thing to do, but you don't understand how much that has an effect on us, and that has an effect on us being able to monetize these type of things as content creators that do football, for example. I can monetize better when there's a better viewing and people are sharing and all of those things. So please don't think that your support has to just be money or really big things. Also do the small things. Guys, it's been incredible. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to do a watch along of Bafana versus Congo tomorrow evening. I'll see you guys then tomorrow. Bye, everyone.